Okay, so this next section we're gonna do right now is music theory heavy. Uh, for like some of you, this like I have to do a bunch of explaining that you've all heard this before. Like if you played at all in the worship team, you've heard all this terminology before. And then towards the end of this section, you're gonna see why I'm talking about it, so that you can like have like a framework to musically talk about ideas, to musically say, hey, this is how we could improve it. This is something that's lacking. And then you have like little tools, no matter what like level of proficiency you have in music theory. You have a basic set of tools so that you can at least work with each other, right? And not all the music decisions fall on one person. Does this make sense? We're gonna blow through this because we're quickly running out of time, and I do want more songwriting to happen. So chords are the basic ingredients of worship music. Okay, if we want to do like chemistry, where the elements are the basic units of everything, right? But for worship songs, it's chords, and so I want to talk about how chords have the two E's of chords: emotions and expectations, right? So each chord and like variations of the same chord have an emotion attached to it. And I came up with these. The chords might make you feel differently, but you should explore how you feel. Because if your song has emotions in the lyrics, you're going to want to complement that with the chords that you're playing, okay? So I have major, minor, super easy. It's happy and sad. But once you start adding a little bit complexity to major or minor, you're adding a little bit of complexity to the happy or sad feeling. C2 is not just happy, it's like peaceful. C5 is like there's no emotion, it's just a note, right? Or C7 is like heavy suspense, or C minor 7 is like a struggle. It's a little more complicated than sad. It's just like there's struggle, there's wrestling going on. That's my interpretation, but you'll see why I identify this. I made up a funny little stanza. I once was sad, but now I'm glad. I used to whine, but now I'm fine. My many fears have turned to cheers because I found my phone. Okay? So this is like an emotional roller coaster, yeah? So I'm going to highlight all the emotion words. Boop. So all of these are what? Like negative, and all of these are positive, and it's in your face, right? So what I'm basically positing to you is that you should put sad chords on sad words and happy chords on happy words. And it just fits. So I don't even have to have a melody. I once was sad, but now I'm glad. I used to whine, but now I'm fine. My many fears have turned to cheers. And now what? Because now I need chords that sound like resolution. Because I found my phone. Okay? But do you see how that totally matches, and a story is like better told. All the colors of the chords match. But so what I did was I used 3 different sad chords for 3 different sad words. That made it sound like, wow, this was all over the place. This was really a difficult struggle to find the phone. But what if I played this? I once was sad, but now I'm glad. I used to whine, but now I'm fine. My many fears have turned to cheers because I found my phone. This just makes it emphasize it was a long struggle to find the phone. You're just repeating chords over and over. Yeah. Yeah, this progression needs a lot of Seroquel or something. So I once was sad. The droning of the same 2 chords makes it sound like you were stuck. And then the relief of like not hearing those chords anymore. But now I found my phone. Does that make sense? So that's how, like, we talked a little bit about emotional manipulation, but that's where it is. It's just, you're just supporting the words and you're supporting your storytelling with the like chords strategically. So here are the chords again, and like how you can have more complex emotions. Those are all very simple ones. I didn't do any minor 7 or flat 5. So what if I did that? I once was sad, but now I'm glad. I used to whine, but now I'm fine. My many fears have turned to cheers because I found my phone. It's like, that was a little distracting, right? So if if you're like throwing in there like wow pizzazz chords, if you're overdoing it, you can be a little bit distracting. Chords that people don't usually hear at church, you're gonna have to like teach them to hear them regularly, right? So maybe not all of these, but maybe one of them, 2 of them, right? Or like y'all did in your song, you do a chord in a breakdown chorus, right? So that's what I mean. So maybe a nice balance would be not maybe taking that one out, right? Have turned to cheers. So well, because you're also needing like the rest of the band to play this with you, right? So those cheers, those are very like nuanced cheers. Cheers, understanding. It's like they listen to a deeper, profound appreciation. I know it's like watching the judges try to come up with something to say on Chopped. So I have a very like polluted diagram here that's basically just meant to explain like the number system, because this is how musicians communicate to each other about what chords they want to play. Because you might be changing keys as you write the song. So as long as you're using these Roman numerals, and then you start to understand. So when we're always dealing in major keys, usually when we're writing songs. So if we're talking about, hey, what chord progression do we want to use for the verse? Y'all did what? Y'all did 6, 6, 4, 1. Okay, yeah. So how did I know what chords to play? Because I knew in the scale of G major, the 6 is E minor, the 4 is C, and the 1 is G. And so that's just like a guitar player's thing. Go ahead. Yeah. In the key of C, if he were going to modulate in rehearsal, I can't sing that high. Then I would say, oh, 6, 4, 1. So the 6 would be A minor, minor because it's lowercase. See, lowercase means minor. So I know the 6 is always going to be minor. It's a 6, and then 4 is the F, and then 4 would be F, and then 1 would be C. So now I've like transposed. Those are the steps I take to transpose. So mentally, I'm doing what a guitar does with a capo. You're just moving it, and you're still playing the same shapes. You're still using the same rules, the same patterns, same scale, but you're moving along these notes. So the reason why you might want to be familiar with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Don't worry about the 7. Please ignore that. The reason why you would want to know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is because different chord progressions will make your song feel different. And so you want to be able to say, hey, you know, if this, even though we're using these words, I want people to feel like blank. And then I have a chart later I want you to take a picture of where you can try to find that feeling and then use that chord progression, or at least try it. Does that make sense? So major, minor, minor, major, major. The more you practice using this, the more you like know that if someone says 3, it's going to be the third note in what key you're in, and it'll be minor. So if someone just blurted out A flat, we're going to play an A flat, then I know A flat, B flat, C, A flat, B flat, C, like A, B, C, and then C minor. So I know that would be, if I had to play the 3 chord, hey, let's play the 3 chord there. So it takes some practice. It takes like some clarification, like and everything, like write it out or study it. But eventually, you'll be able to use something like this, and you'll get a feel for like what chord progressions you like, what chord progressions you think are effective at communicating the emotion you want to communicate. So, if you'll notice, what I want you to like some core basics is that 1, the key you're in, right, is 1. Let's pretend we're in G major. G is going to feel like a place of security and everything is right. So depending on what chord you're playing and going to that place of security, you'll like elicit a feeling. So if I'm coming from 4 to 1, I'm happy about this, or amen. Like, it feels like a breath of fresh air. As opposed to 2 to 1, it's just like, it's bittersweet. It's more, because you've used a minor chord. So there's sadness involved, but it went to a place of security. You see what I mean? Yeah. What about something a little longer and more complicated is like, where do I go from here? And the reason I feel that way is because the 5 is the one that is like, generates the most tension. So if you're dancing around the 5 chord, you're leaving people on that place of tension. So that's 6, 5, 4 in the key of G. Everyone's like waiting for you to play everyone's waiting for you to play the 1 chord. Not yet. So so this chord progression ends up being good for what? Something where you're trying to build tension. And what song section do you think you're building tension? Verses. What else? Pre-choruses. Yeah. And one more. Bridges. Yeah. So yeah, and then you'll be able to access this later if you're like stumped, or if you're like, oh, this just feels boring. Let me submit to you that there's like chords you can do. I'm going to skip this slide and come here. These are interchangeable, and this is something you can play with. The 1 you can change with the 6. The 4 you can try replacing that with a 2, and the 5 you can try replacing that with a 3, because like they're 1 note off. They're 1 note off. So they'll still generate the tension or the feeling that you want, but make it more interesting because it's sad. It's not happy. So the most common way this is done is when you do a little bait and switch and go, Jesus Christ, my living, not hope. No, they switch the 1 for the 6. Jesus Christ, my living hope. Oh God, you are my living hope. Makes sense? But what if I did some more replacing? So we said the 5 could be switched with the 3. Let's see what that sounds like. There's salvation in your name, Jesus Christ, my living hope. You see how it still works? And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, scrap it, right? Because all you're trying to do is let the congregation know we're about to sing the line again. You don't have to overdo switching the chords then. But if you're like wanting to redo a section, but different because it's like the fifth time you've sung the chorus. Then and you want to switch some chords up, that's the way you could do it. I'll go back so you see those three chords again. The 1 with the 6, the 4 with the 2, and the 5 with the 3. A related chord. Go to related chord instead of the expected one. Because like I said, the chords generate expectations. People expect you to go to a chord as soon as I play one. So if we're in this key, when I play this one, y'all kind of are already hearing the next one in your head. That's what I'm talking about with expectations. Another example of, here we go. This is Prepare Us for Heaven, and I used, this is a sad reality, the one that sounds like that. I used that for a section, a line that was pretty sad, and so I decided to change up some chords. So, Lord, we pray, help us put to death our former ways. Lord, take us by the hand and lead us home. That line is not that depressing. So I'll keep it major. And then, even though the past holds reminders of regrets, Lord, give us ears to heed your voice alone. Now, because this line's kind of depressing, it would be weird if I played even though the past holds reminders of regrets, because emotionally this is like what we sing at the end of the doxology. Amen, right? There's a little clashy to play something that feels nice during a part that is supposed to, you could make it feel sadder. The past hold reminders of regrets. And then you bring like a sweet relief by bringing in some happy chords. Give us ears to heed your voice alone. So all I'm basically preaching to y'all about is a little bit of intentionality between your major and minor chords. Does that make sense? You might be listening to something and feeling like, I don't know why this doesn't hit very well. I don't think it's a problem with the lyrics. You could try to analyze the chords, the music side of things, and see if there's just a better way you could more compelling way to play those chords. Everybody tracking so far? Any questions? Because I know it's like heady. Anything you want me to go over again? So we're skipping 7. We're because like hold on. Yeah, because technically the diminished 7 is like a scale. It's like a note and a chord not used because it's like too classical. So like I would say, like don't bother. Like don't bother. If you want to be more advanced, if you want to like try to work that into a worship song, more power to you.
Well, what would it sound like?
Yeah, here. Say what now?
D to C.
Yeah. So like, okay, so I see what you're saying. The what this sounds like, I'm gonna do this. That's the 7. What? Like for example, a full step down from 1 is it's technically. So this is like if you went to a conservatory, this is technically correct. But what they're talking about is that in like modern worship, this will be like a neat chord that's thrown in, and it's not that. What they do is just 2 frets down, play the key you're in, but 2 frets down, pretty much. Best example is the end of Great Are You, Lord.
No, you're talking about O Come to the Altar.
O Come to the Altar. So O Come to the Altar is Tell the world of the treasure you found.
Actual seven there should be F sharp.
Yeah, technically.
Flat seven, which would be an F.
Yeah.
F natural.
So that is what they're talking about. This is just like the like a grammar correct way to write the seven. But in this case, it wouldn't. If I were to write a song in C major and try to use that chord they're talking about, the flat seven, it would not be B. It would be B flat because it's 2 frets down from C. So if I don't play B, I play B flat. Makes sense? So that one's a nice one to throw in if you're going to go here to the 4 chord. That was for free. Thank you. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah, it's